What's good, guys? It's TSG. In today's video, we have Blickter, a moderator for the Illuvium Discord, and he is another nominee for the Illuvinati Council. So how's it going, man?
Yeah, it's pretty good, TSG. Thanks for having me on.
That's
Appreciate you doing these interviews.
Now that's good, man. I'm excited. We've never actually spoken properly before, so I'm actually excited to have this chat and to see where your mind's at with a lot of the things, however this election goes. Cool. So let's get straight into it, yeah. And so the first question that I'm going to ask you is, in the governance channel, it's been a constant discussion about the duration of the epochs. Right now, and since the beginning, it's been 3 months per epoch. There's been discussions about 6 months, longer. I don't think really there's been any discussion for it being shorter. But where do you stand on that topic, and what's your rationale for your perspective on that?
Yeah, so I've thought about this a fair bit. I've heard people throw out a couple suggestions. I personally think 6 months is too long. The DAO, and by the DAO I mean like token holders, right? People who are holding ILB. The DAO's only real recourse if they don't like what the council's doing is to elect a new council. And I just think 6 months gives a little bit too much leeway to the council. I think a smaller increase, like maybe a 4-month epoch, could be pretty good. I understand that some of the councilors, I obviously don't have experience with this myself, but some of the councilors feel like they just don't have enough time in an epoch to get the things done they want to.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from with that.
Cool. And so you're saying that the negative of having a 3-month epoch is that it seems like, so this positive is it means that we have quick turnarounds in case they're not doing anything. The negative of that is it doesn't actually give the council members enough time to implement the things that they want. And you're against the 6-month because you think it's a bit too long. And you're currently thinking that the happy medium might be about 4 months. Is that where I just want to make sure I'm summarizing that correctly.
So I guess just to be clear, if somebody feels something super important to them and it's something that they're kind of running to get elected on the council for, I don't see how 3 months isn't long enough to at least address it with an IIP or a preliminary idea to the community. I don't see how 3 months isn't long enough to get something off the ground. So I'd be open to 4 months. I think 3 months is probably sufficient, but I wouldn't be in favor of a 6-month epoch. Right. I think that just puts a little bit too much trust into council members.
Okay. Yeah, easy. I just want to dive in a little bit deeper, and then we can move on to the second question. So as like a way for you to summarize it instead of me summarizing it, what do you think of what is the benefit of a 3-month, the current situation? What is the benefit and the pro and con for a 3-month epoch? And what is the pro and con for a 4-month epoch if you had your way and could push it to that?
I'd say they're fairly comparable. Having not been on the council myself before, I haven't felt the kind of time squeeze that people have been talking about, so I can't really speak to that element of it.
Yeah.
But if we were to do an increase, 4-month epoch fits into a year pretty cleanly, which is good.
Yeah.
And it's short enough that if token holders aren't feeling represented, they have the opportunity to make their voices heard, right?
Yeah. That's fair. All right, man. So what we'll do is we'll move on to the second question now. And obviously we know that land is coming up very, very soon. For anyone that doesn't know, June 2nd. But land is coming up very soon. And this is going to be the first experience, the first actual example of revenue distribution being distributed back to token holders. So if it was up to you, how would you like to see that being distributed? Would you like to see that being distributed in a lump sum? Do you reckon it's better off over a period of time? And how long of a period of time would that be? And why do you believe that?
So I think a lump sum is right out of the question. It just opens up a lot of opportunities for people to exploit the vault making a super large buy. I think it would just effectively end up in bots and automated traders extracting value from the ecosystem by buying ILB before these big buys and then selling their tokens immediately after, before your average Joe even gets to realize any of that price increase. I think probably the minimum that RevDis should be distributed over is about a month.
Okay.
But I think there are very, very good arguments to have revenue distributed over longer. and I guess I should probably explain what I mean by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess I'll go over the pros of a short period of time that revenue is distributed over. So the main thing that people kind of look at, or the main argument I've seen, is that people feel like, well, if I was staked, before this land sale, for example, they feel like I've been supporting this project for a long time and I am entitled to this revenue. And I don't think people who feel that way are wrong by any stretch. I think they're right, but I think we might need to look a little bit deeper into how it would work if we're distributing revenue over longer. Because if we're distributing revenue over a long time and people feel like the revenue from a big sale like the land sale is getting, quote unquote, stolen by these new stakers, that's actually not how things would end up working, right? Because if you want to be a staker and be eligible for RevDis, you need to buy ILV tokens. And that's providing buy pressure to the token. So it's increasing the token price. And that's just going to end up being a net positive for you as an ILV holder and staker, right?
Yeah.
You get new people coming into the ecosystem, staking, locking their tokens up. If they want a 2.0 wait, they need to lock for 12 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall I would be in favor of like a longer duration for RevDis to be distributed over.
Yeah.
But I'd definitely be open to hear some other people's opinions on that for sure.
And I know it's super hard to give like specifics, but when you say longer, like how long is longer? Because if like it could be 3 years, 4 years, like we don't actually know. Like, so you're saying the minimum is about 1 month, and the duration, like the longer period, would be what, 6 months? Because for some people, 6 months is a long time. For some people, a year is a long time. Do you have a rough idea on what you can, like, what you would suggest or what you would like to see happen? Again, there's no right answers. It's just more your perspective.
I would like to see somewhere in the range of like 3 to 6 months. And that's mostly just based off of what I would like to see it based off of is approximately how long in between releases of content or new sets of alluvials there are. Because every time that happens, there's going to be a big pump in revenue, right?
Yeah.
And if we're distributing revenue over basically a period of time that spans from one event to the next event, we're just going to have like relatively smooth, steady revenue for stakers, right? And that can be really good because some people are going to, not that I would ever advise this, but some people are going to be relying on that revenue, right? They're going to get used to it and they're going to be like, oh, I know I'm going to get in the realm of,
this much. Yeah.
20 to 30 bucks for each ILV this month or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of really compelling to bring investors in because if you can give somebody a metric like that that's relatively consistent, it's a really easy investment to justify, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if it's like, oh, last month RevDis was $500 in ILV, and this month it's going to be $8, like that's kind of a hard sell.
Yeah. I think having that flow makes it a lot easier to digest for people compared to the extreme volatility. So I think that's a very, very fair statement to make. All right, so the next question I want to ask, man, is actually, it's a question that was submitted by one of the community members, and they were asking about a discussion that was being had on Reddit about the fluctuating prices of fuel going 25% up or 25% down. What are your thoughts on that? Because obviously that's going to affect the average player playing the overworld. It's going to, the price is going to vary for them to play the game. What are your thoughts on that? Do you reckon that 25% railway is a good thing to have? Are you for a completely open market without those things at all? Do you think it should be a consistent price to play the game for fuel? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm assuming that probably at least some people weren't watching the governance discussions when the land sale IIP was going through, but
probably not.
I had fairly strong opinions on some of the issues that I could see posed by the system that basically has been passed at this point, right? It got passed with the land sale IIP with fluctuating fuel prices within 25% rails.
Yeah.
I will say I do think the current system's adequate. It has rails, which is a good idea. I kind of would prefer the rails to be based around USD prices.
Okay.
I know that people have issues with that and think that just pegging an amount of fuel to a fixed amount of ETH is fine. But if ETH pumps and we hit one of the edges on those rails, players could see the real cost to play the game change by a lot. And I think, I know from, this is anecdotal, so I don't think this is great evidence, but I have gaming friends who would absolutely hate that. I've talked to some of them about this kind of thing and just how they feel about changing prices for what's effectively the same service. And I think it could be off-putting to some people. I guess ultimately what I would like to see happen in the future for things like this, because monetization is incredibly important in games, right?
Like, of course.
Mobile gaming companies put a lot of money and a lot of research into figuring out how to make it easier for people to spend money in their games. I would just like to see a bit more focus on data or market research or comparable projects that have used similar models. I don't think the World of Warcraft auction house model is a reasonable comparison because you don't buy your subscription on the auction house, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
At any rate, I was in favor of USD pricing, fixed USD pricing. I understand that causes a lot of issues for how Illuvium 0 would play and causes issues for kind of how people can play the markets on fuel. And I do think those things are important, but fuel is also sort of the basis for how Illuvium will be monetized into the future. And I just think that there could be a little bit more diligence done and exploring different options. It felt like that proposal was maybe a little bit rushed to me. I don't want to be overly critical of the current council. And like I said, I do think that it's a fine system. At this point, it's not something I would go back and change. But I think that we should keep our eyes on whether that's a pain point for onboarding new players in the future, because I kind of suspect it might be. That's not good, right? More players means more revenue, and I mean, everybody kind of knows how that goes.
You want to be making it as accessible as possible for everyone, right? So because that was a conversation that I saw being had, and because I was in that governance chat. I wasn't putting much input myself, but I was definitely keeping up to date with what everyone was saying. So it's interesting to see how it will work and how it will play out in the future. All right, man. So the last question I want to leave you with, just a fun way to end this off. Thank you for all those, all of your insight, by the way. The final question I want to ask is, with the land sale coming up, we know that there are 2 T5s being put on sale, and there's no chance. I mean, I should have said I don't know your situation, but I doubt we have a chance to actually get those. But if for some reason you had the naming rights, what would you name the arena on one of those T5 plots of land?
So pragmatically, I would sell the naming rights to the highest bidder. But just for fun, I would probably name it something to do with Tiktaalik.
The chat.
I think it would have to be something like that.
The Mecca, right? Tiktaalik Mecca or something.
That'd be perfect, actually.
That's funny. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there? I'll leave your Twitter. How do you want people to reach out to you, man? Twitter, Discord.
I'm just on Discord. You can find me on there. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me via DM. My DMs are always open. I'd also just like to give a shout out to the team. They've been doing an amazing job developing Illuvium. The beta is awesome, and it's pretty obvious they've poured their heart and soul into getting this game off the ground as quickly as they have with the quality they have. Just please, guys, remember to support the team, praise the things that you like, and be constructive about what you don't like. Also shout out to you for doing these interviews. It's a big service to the community for you to organize this and do the interviews, and I think it's just super helpful in general. It's kind of a testament to some of the power that we have as a DAO.
No, thank you so much, man. Again, the first ones I did were actually kind of rushed because I was new to content. this one is cool, but hopefully we can do a bit more in the future as well. So I'm excited for that. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much. For everyone watching, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You know what to do. And yeah, man, stay up to date with all of this stuff and make sure you vote. But anyway, thank you guys for watching and peace out.